What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Crunch Time on this Saturday afternoon, evening, depending where you are across the United States of America. I am Britt Devine, joined by STL Cards 84, Justin Van Zuden, my man Andre. There's a lot going on. Football's tomorrow, baseball's tonight. It's a fun little slate. I'll talk to Justin in a little bit, but there's a lot of pitching to like. And if you don't think the Padres are going to put up 10 runs, debatable, right? I think there's a couple offenses to look at. A fun little baseball night.
Yes, it is definitely a fun little baseball night for sure. Obviously headlined by the Padres, everyone's favorite stack today. But I think it's interesting for GPPs. I got a few players that I like and want to try to get to today.
Yeah, Cards. This just popped into my head. You play a lot of different sports: baseball, golf, basketball, football, all those. What's like your favorite of all the DFS sports, man?
For the DFS sweat, it's golf, just the 4 days, I think. And, I've had some success with it over the years. Baseball's probably second, but, football, there's just the contests are so big. And, I think the bigger edge in the football side right now is with prop betting, but as opposed to DFS. Not that it's not still fun, but, it's just tough to win long-term with the rake and the amount of people. But golf and baseball are my top two.
Yeah, prop bet's always fun. I tell my friends, prop bets, you only have to get the prop right. You don't have to beat everyone else in the contest that also got the prop right. So you're just basically going against one instead of two. But anyway, we are here for baseball. Justin, you wrote the big article on RotoGrinders today. I gave it a quick read through. Pitching today, I think there's a lot of ways to go. We close out the season, and you never really know what's going to happen in baseball. The Dodgers, right? They're Freddie Freeman, scratch late. They haven't really been closing out the season pretty hot. But as far as pitching goes tonight, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. What I would consider close to maybe not the same pitcher, but pretty elite pitchers. You can throw in, I know you don't really like Kershaw going up against your Cardinals. Some people play him. I'm not one of them. You can throw in Loeb and Gilbert. You can take a shot on Quantrill. But between Valdez, Kelly, Ryan, and Detmers, if you bring up the plate IQ on some of these guys, the end of season lineups they're facing are just the most strikeout heavy things I think we've seen all season. So try to break it down for the people. What are you looking at tonight?
Yeah, I think Valdez is the safest option. He's got a 67% ground ball rate, so you get safety with him. Houston's been shut out the last 2 nights, so I think they'll come out with a little bit of motivation here today. And you got Kershaw's facing the Cardinals team that's clearly a lot better against lefties. They smashed Andrew Haney last night, and they've had some success against Kershaw in the past. We know he's not going to throw more than like 90 or so pitches. I just don't think Kershaw makes sense. I think it's Valdez. Definitely for the safety. If you're looking for upside, I think it's probably Joe Ryan. His last 2 starts, he hasn't given up any runs. The strikeouts are back. He seems healthy. That Angels lineup, is pretty weak at the bottom. And we don't have anybody with a strikeout prop higher than 6.5 tonight. So there's a lot of very good pitchers. There's not a lot of huge upside pitchers. So I think you just go for the safer plays. And to me, I like Valdez. I like Ryan. I am out on Darvish. I'm just not going to play him in Coors. You're not getting a discount on him. I get the logic if you want to play him, but I'd rather go to Cobb or Kelly, I think, in that game in Arizona with only a 7.5 total before I go to Darvish and GPPs. But my ideal cash game pairing, I think, would be Valdez and Ryan.
Yeah, I want to speak on Kelly because he's someone I'm giving a pretty big eye to. This is not your low strikeout Giants lineup. This is filled with bottom of the barrel guys after you get, what do they have? 3 or 4 actual Major League Baseball level talent bats in their lineup tonight, Justin. I don't know where you went. Maybe you're checking the microphone cord that's going to cut off on us any second. Maybe you got a Diet Coke. Don't all of the above.
No, so I've been battling bronchitis the last few days.
I can tell it. Ain't nobody got time for that.
And so I got water, and it's serious when I have water instead of Diet Coke. So
yeah. Maybe I'll throw this to Andre. What are you doing with a guy like Merrill Kelly? Because I'm eyeing him. I took a strikeout prop on most of the books. It was 5.5 or 6.5 with a little plus money. Fanduel, our sponsor, they had it. It was like minus 130 something, which at 5.5, which I think he's definitely going to get 5.5. The 6.5 I was a little questionable on, but for him to get 7 at plus money, I still think is pretty reasonable. What's your take on him against this Giants lineup? I've got him pulled up on Plate IQ. It looks pretty juicy.
Yeah, I got to pull up too on Plate IQ on mine too. It looks like it should be a good matchup for him with them having a 25% strikeout, 26% strikeout rate on the season. But even though we're projecting it to be a low scoring game, Giants really don't also put up a lot of runs either. Like as far as huge run nights, they do have a once in a blue moon, so I don't mind the call from Merrill Kelly, but I really do like these other guys. I mean, 8.2 is a fair price to play from, especially on DK. On FanDuel, we got him coming in at 9K, and it's going to be about like 10% owned, if not a little bit less. So I think that's a fair price to pay for him. Someone I'll definitely use in GPPs. That's my third option for sure. Third or fourth option. I'm not like, I don't know why people want to play Detmers. No offense, but I can't get to that guy today.
Have you seen the bottom of the Minnesota lineup? It looks like the same of all these other garbage lineups today.
I mean, I get it, but it's still Detmers. That's my take on that. But I do like maybe even trying to get a little bit of. But my favorite pitcher today, is Framber. I just can't get away from him. It just the ground ball. Like I wrote about an article and I think and Cards mentioned the ground ball rate being at 67%, and these Baltimore guys having about a 40% ground ball rate as well as far as the hitters wise, and the optimal lineup. I think that still is the same, if not changed a little bit, but that just makes it an easy choice to just go with him. Kershaw, we mentioned the pitch count is a concern, especially with them trying to rest of the playoffs, and we know Valdez is at least going 6 innings, and 6 innings I think on this slate is enough to get you where you need to be. If not, Joe Ryan also is a good option too with the strikeout upside. It's a little bit cheaper than Merrill Kelly at 8K, so I like those 2 options for sure. I can't really see myself going to anywhere else. Yeah, I just can't. I've tried to look elsewhere to see. I even thought about possibly maybe a little bit of Logan Gilbert, which I don't mind, but that would be like a sprinkle if anything.
Yeah, I do. I do like Detmers just a little bit from a tournament perspective. Cards, I want to throw it to you on FanDuel specifically. Valdez is by far and away the most expensive pitcher. I think one of the most expensive pitchers we've seen all season at 11.2. Can you still squeeze him in there? You can't get Manny Machado. You can't get Juan Soto in your lineup if you play Framber Valdez, unless you basically take a punt literally at every position, and not just like a good punt, but a bad punt. Is he your guy on FanDuel, even from a cash game perspective?
I mean, I think so, but if you can't get to him again, I'm fine with Ryan. I think, if Ryan works in your lineup better, I'm totally okay using him. But those are my top 2 in cash for sure.
All right. As far as offense goes tonight, Andre, we've got the Padres with a big run total, and they're still trying to win games over here. Mm-hmm. What's your take on them if the ownership, let's see here. Let me pull. I mean, some of these guys, the ownership's nuts, right? We've got an 8-game slate, I believe it is tonight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to round up to Trent Grisham. Let's call him 6 players, basically 20% or above on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, if I pull it up, let's see here. Hitters, it's got to be pretty close to the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5, maybe Bell because he's a little bit lower in the order, but I still think people are going to play Bell even if he's hitting 6 tonight. The ownership on them is so high. What do you expect from them as a team tonight? Would you be overweight, underweight? Are they a single entry team? Break it down from all perspectives with just how highly owned they're going to be.
I think you have to be overweight on this team today. I don't think there's a way around it. We're going against Cole, who's not really that great of a pitcher. I just personally will find myself would be taking more so the back half of the lineup and maybe getting one big name guy in there if I can. But going with guys like Josh Bell, Kim, on FanDuel who are 10% or lower. I think starting with those 2 is a good way to go. Even with Trent Grisham, who has some power in the back half of the lineup, and it's a lefty in that 2.5, I think it's a great value too as well. And 15% is not that high compared to everyone else. And then just finding yourself getting different with your secondary stack, which there's a secondary stack I love today was not getting any ownership, a lot of ownership. That I think is in a great position, but I understand why they're not also getting ownership too because
who is that?
Houston.
Houston, yeah. I mean,
I
you're
love-
getting paid. You're getting paid. Tell the people to stack.
It's Houston for me. Like I had them ranked early. Like when I first did the if y'all checked out the picks today, I had them ranked as my number 2 overall stack, but then I brought them down to 5 because I'm just the only thing that concerns me about them is just more so are they going to pull guys from their lineup mid game, which I wouldn't be surprised since they already have wrapped up the division already, and I think also wrapped up the AL as well. So they might just come. That's the only reason why I might be a little bit low on them as far as putting at 5. But I love this team today going against the Boston pitcher here. Jordan only is like pretty much the only guy that's projected to have high ownership today. So you get Bregman at 5%. You get Tucker at 10%, if not even less, on FanDuel. Jose Altuve, we could probably be around that area too at 10%, and Gary L. So and Pena even at 5% too as well. So I think these are guys that are great hitting guys that can hit the ball, put it in play, put up a big score, and probably get out the game by probably like the second or third at bat.
All right, Cards, real quick. Give me 30 seconds on offense. Give me San Diego. Do you like them from a tournament perspective, and then any other teams you might like?
Yeah, I like them, but I mean, we saw what they did last night. Anything can happen in baseball, and when you've got the 7 highest
Pujols can hit 2 home runs in a game. I mean, anything can still happen.
Right? No kidding. When you got the 6 highest owned guys from the same team, you can lend some thought to potentially going somewhere else in GPPs. Then you try to find that somewhere else, and it's like, okay, do you want to get screwed by the White Sox for the 650th time this year? Not really. Colorado on the other side of that game has to face Darvish. Andre makes a good point about Houston. I think they're definitely viable. My favorites, if you're looking to go away from San Diego, would be Seattle and Cleveland.
Yeah, I love today.
I think those teams are in play as kind of some upside stacks. Seattle has a sneaky high total. I know their lineup isn't obviously as good with a couple of their big batters injured, but like Chris Bubich is 2-14 with like a 5.5 ERA, so he can get blown up at any time.
All right, let's go position by position. We'll start at catcher real quick, more so on DraftKings. Basically, are you spending up or are you going a little bit lower? I mean, Will Smith, that Dodgers line, if you had Freddie Freeman in your lineup, he got scratched if you were it was more from a tournament play. But it moved up a couple of guys. Will Smith's up a little bit higher in the lineup. I think he's 3rd now. Are you spending on him or is there someone else you're targeting, Justin?
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a position where you want to spend tonight because, like, the salary is going to be at a premium. We don't have the, like, dirt cheap pitchers. You're going to want to spend on guys like in the outfield. And I just don't think $5,200 for Will Smith is the optimal use of salary tonight. Gary Sanchez is hitting 5th for Minnesota against, a low strikeout lefty. I like him. I think Jonah Heim is in play. Quantrill doesn't strike a lot of guys out. Even Torrens, if you're on Seattle stack, I think is fine. Yasmani Grandal, part of that disappointing White Sox team, but I think I'm going in that 3K range tonight.
All right, Andre, you got any tournament standouts at the position?
He named pretty much all of them. Yasmani Grandal, Gary Sanchez, Will Smith. Those are guys I definitely want to try to get some little bit of exposure to tonight. Wouldn't mind them as a one-off or obviously part of the stack for sure.
All right, let's go to first base. Josh Bell at 4K on DraftKings, and he's, 3,100 on FanDuel. He's hitting 6. You can run into the problem on both sites tonight, Justin, of which are the 4 or 5 Padres you want on your safe cash team type tonight. Does Bell make that cut?
I don't think he's mandatory. I don't because Soto, Profar, Machado, Cronenworth. You got a lot of options there. So, and Bell, I mean, he's been struggling. I think because of the price, he's definitely in play. But I do like Josh Naylor. I talk about him every night. He's maybe a little better play on FanDuel where he's 3K. Carlos Santana hitting cleanup for that depleted Seattle lineup against a bad pitcher, I think is fine. Ty France, I think is fine. So it's not that I don't like Josh Bell. I just don't think you have to prioritize him as one of your San Diego guys.
All right. And then Andre, from a tournament perspective at first base, anything really stand out? If I sort by ownership, I guess I'll go by DraftKings specifically because that's what I've got up on my screen. Naylor's sub 10%. Otani's going to draw almost no ownership. You've got Torkelson down there at 2,100. I know he was popping on the bat. A couple ways to get a little different tonight.
Yeah, definitely like some of those guys. Gavin Sheets is another guy that sticks out with me. Even though I can't help but like the White Sox today, and they're one of my sneaky teams that I ranked number 6 overall. But they have too much talent to just fail all the time. So hopefully tonight, if you play them a little bit, they'll come through a little bit. But I do like these guys like Sheets, Jose Abreu. I think these are guys that you can roster for sure. I do like Nate Lowe a little bit in tournaments too. Don't mind using him. Carlos Santana is another guy I think you can get to, especially in your Seattle Sox. Or I think even as a one-off today, I think he's pretty good too as well. But yeah, that's pretty much my tournament exposure going to be. Besides, obviously, like a guy like Yuli Gurriel, who's from Houston, as well. And I love Josh Bell today. I think, like I said, I personally would be playing the back half of this lineup, so Josh Bell will be more of a high consideration, a high priority for me compared to the other guys.
All right, let's go to second base. Here's one of your priority plays of the night is going to be Jay Cronenworth cards. It looks like he's reasonably priced on both sites. Don't see why you don't want to have him on your cash team tonight.
Yeah, plus the position kind of stinks. Yeah. So I think Cronenworth is clearly the top guy. Like if you can get up to Altuve, fine, but he's a little more expensive. Semien, fine, but Cronenworth grades out so much better. In Coors, you do have Javi Baez on Fanduel, but shortstop also kind of stinks, and so I'd probably play him there. There's just not a lot of options at second, like Altuve, Cronenworth, Semien, and maybe Baez on Fanduel, but that's why Cronenworth is just going to be the guy for most people.
I want to note all you guys watching on YouTube, I do appreciate it. Please click the like button on there and give a shout out to our sponsor, FanDuel. I've got, I told you the Merrill Kelly over 5.5 strikeouts is one of my favorite baseball props today. Football props, we could do a show until about 8:30 for all the props I have. But at least for baseball, we got Merrill Kelly. Andre, I'm going to make this pretty simple to you. On FanDuel, Cronenworth and Drury are basically half of the GPP teams today.
Yeah.
What else can we take a look at? If we're not, using them, you've made your stance known. You'd probably be more apt to use Drury over Cronenworth because it's just a little bit later in the lineup. And I think Cronenworth, we've got him 27 to 20. I might put that 35 to 15 or something like that. I just think Cronenworth is going to possibly double up Drury in ownership. So what else would we be looking at?
Yeah, I like the Javier Baez. Like, look, I'm surprised he's still coming under 10% here, with his price at 2.6K because I think he's a great one-off. But you can also use him as a flex position as a shortstop as well. Jose Altuve will be a high priority for me. Don't mind getting to a guy like Marcus Semien too today as well. Yeah, some of these guys are like pretty much like the spend-up guys will be something I definitely want to target today. And use them as more so one-offs with this position not being that weak not being that strong. But also if I wanted to just use like sacks, I don't mind going with a guy like Andreas Jimenez, yes, in a stack. So I don't mind doing that as well today. So, and even Max Muncy, Dodgers are not going to be that high owned, and I know they have been a little bit lackluster lately, but I think he's still a guy you can get in your lineups today as well, a part of a mini Dodger stack.
All right, cards, we got to speed this up a little bit, so make sure we can get to questions. If you guys have questions, please post them in the crunch time in our Discord for RotoGrinders. For all of our premium members, I will field those first, and then I will go to the YouTube to get them from everybody else. I'm going to throw this to you, cards. If you're only playing one in cash, now you can probably get both, especially if you're going maybe a little cheaper in pitching. Is it Machado or Soto if you got to pick one today?
It's probably Soto. I like cool splits better for left-handed bats. A lot more hard contact and worse control. So I think it's Soto, but, it's close. And part of that is because I think, especially on FanDuel, you could go down to Moncada. Ryan McMahon leading off for the Rockies is pretty cheap on FanDuel as well. And then you have Urshela, who's pretty cheap on DraftKings. So if you need to go cheap, and then you have Jose Ramirez possibly as another spend as well. So, yeah, it's Soto for me, but I like Machado too.
All right, Andre, we're going to skip over third base from the tournament perspective. I'm going to go to shortstop for Justin for cash. You mentioned Baez on FanDuel. Are you also looking at him on DraftKings? You've got Tovar, that minimum price on DraftKings for Colorado. He is $2,000. He's hitting seventh, but he's a reasonable prospect. They're giving him a look here at the end of the season. He sort of made everything work for me on DraftKings that I wanted to do, so I ended up with him. What's your thoughts on him over there?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. He got his first hit last night. I like Baez and I like Dylan Moore as well. Like this position, as I mentioned, it stinks. So like you're going cheap here, and I'm not playing Elvis Andrus. So to me, it's Tovar on DraftKings and either Baez or Dylan Moore as well.
All right, and then Andre, tournaments, shortstop. Javi Baez. There's a lot of ways that could end badly for you. If he's going to be highly owned, what are some of the pivots people could look to make tonight?
Well, we just got is Trey Turner playing tonight? Yeah, he is, right? I don't think if depending on, let me look at his ownership real quick because that's not showing me on my end. It's coming in at 6% on DK. These are really expensive at 7% on FanDuel. I don't mind that play at all. Carlos Correa against Detmers. I don't mind taking some shots on like some Minnesota guys here. So Correa definitely would be someone I would love to get to a lot of. Kim in the back half of the Dodgers on coming at 8%. I don't mind that as well. Corey Seager's another good option. Pena from Houston. As I mentioned before, there's someone else I don't mind. They got Marcelo Dubon. He's coming in at the eighth spot, going to be like 1% owned. I think he's a good play that you can get to as well today. Those are some of the guys I would look to get to in tournaments.
All right, let's go to the outfield. You've got Soto for cash. I think that's a must play on both sites. I don't think anyone's going to argue with that. You've got Profar 2 cards. Is he, he seems, reasonably priced on both sites. He's a priority for cash as well for you.
Yeah, I think so. I think Soto and Profar, not as much Grisham. I just got done watching the Padres play the Cardinals in their series earlier this week.
What a horrible season Grisham's had.
And I think Grisham struck out every time he hit in the series. He wasn't even close. He was a highly regarded prospect at one point. He's been awful, and he's not even close to making good contact. I know he's in Coors, but that doesn't help if you don't hit the ball. So I don't.
Facts.
That is the hard-hitting analysis that you come here for. If you don't hit the ball, it's not going to go very far. Not much exit velo on those swings and misses. But, yeah, so I think it's Soto and Profar. And, like, if you need to go cheap, I'd go somewhere outside of Grisham. I think Mitch Haniger's fine. Riley Green's leading off. A.J. Pollock had a couple big hits last night. Like Randall Grichuk's pretty cheap on FanDuel. I'd play all those guys before I played Grisham. So I think Soto, Profar, and a cheap guy is probably where most people are going. Andre's probably going to be able to talk about Yordan Alvarez because I know he likes Houston, and I think that's a great play in tournaments too. But, you don't need to get too cute here, but I'm not playing Grisham.
Yeah, I'm going to throw the cheap Dodgers that all moved up a spot in the order as well. Chris Taylor's 2,100 on FanDuel, and you can get Trace Thompson for 2,700 on DraftKings if you're looking for a cheap outfielder. I like some of those Dodgers. I know they've been struggling to close out the season, but they've all moved up, and I don't know. I'm willing to take a shot on them for cheap tonight because I do agree with Cards analysis. A couple of the Padres and the cheap guy does really seem to make the lineups work tonight. Tournaments, Andre?
As Cards mentioned, Yordan, one of the first guys I want to get in there along with Tucker as well. Don't mind them in tournaments. A.J. Pollock and Eloy Jimenez for Chicago, I think is another great option today. Steven Kwan, I think it's another good option for Cleveland, part of your stacks. Him with Ahmad Rosario, Josh Naylor, and then if you put on Jose Ramirez, I think that's a good, nice little own stack that's not going to come in that popular either today. Goodness, my line of HQ just went down. I think that's pretty much going to be it for me. Obviously, I mentioned the Dodgers before. I don't mind even when to take some shots, even like one-offs like Mike Trout. Just because it's Mike Trout. You never know what can happen. Him or Shohei, just take some shots at him just as a one-off and have him hit a home run or two. You never know.
All right, I'm going to field some questions. I'm going to go to Discord. Let's see here. I got to find it first here. MLB Crunch Time. I'm just stuck in the prop shop all the time, it seems like. So I got to go find that Crunch Time channel. Let's see. Mellow Rose want to know if you have one Houston bat on Fanduel. We'll go around the horn on this one. Who's it going to be? I'll start with you, Andre.
Who?
One Houston bat. You like Houston? You got to pick your favorite bat. Who's it going to be?
Who? Jordan.
I mean, that's a pretty easy question.
That's a pretty easy one. Justin, do you have maybe not out of the box, but a non-Jordan favorite bat?
I mean, it would probably be Tucker because not a lot of people are going to play him since he's also expensive. Like in GPPs, I think he's fine as a pivot.
I would say also. I'll also say if it's a like non-Jordan bat, I'm going to say Pena.
Yeah, Pena too, with how weak shortstop is, I think that makes sense.
All right, we've got Achilles has a DraftKings cash question. It's a three for three, so let's all put on our thinking caps. And Justin, let's try to figure this out. Huff, McMahon, and Profar, or Smith, Cronenworth, and Kelenic?
Yeah, I would do the second one. Though, so I'm not playing McMahon on DraftKings. He's too expensive. Mm-hmm. I like the Smith, Cronenworth, Kelenic, but I do think that you potentially improve that build if you take Smith down to one of the 3K catchers and bump Kelenic up to Profar. So if you end up with something like Gary Sanchez, Cronenworth, and Profar, that's probably my option C. That should work with that price range.
All right, I see TJ. He's in the YouTube chat. So what's up, TJ? Hey TJ, if you got a Spidey bomb, drop it for the people. I'll click the like button for that. Let us know if you have one. He's looking for Kelenic or Chris Taylor in a FanDuel tournament for the last piece. Andre, what do you have for that? I'm actually staring down Chris Taylor on my cash team on FanDuel.
I want to say Kelenic. I like Seattle today, good amount too, so go that route.
Justin, well, who would you take between those two?
Look, I hate Chris Taylor because he knocked us out of the playoffs last year. So I'm never going to give you Chris Taylor as an answer. But, yeah, I like Kelenic too. I mean, this is a top prospect that struggled his first reincarnation, and he's got a second chance here. And his at-bats have looked better since he came back up. So I would go with him, but admitted bias against Chris Taylor on my end.
All right, Cards. Paco's Tacos 50 from YouTube. He wants a pitching recap. I'm just going to give you the floor for maybe a minute or two and roll down your thoughts on pitching.
Yeah, I think my top two are Valdez and Joe Ryan. You can fit them together pretty comfortably on DraftKings. On FanDuel, it's a tough call because Valdez is so expensive. But either one in cash, I think, is fine. My favorite tournament pivots are Cobb and Merrill Kelly, and maybe Logan Gilbert, but he's fifth on the list for me. I just think with that lineup, the Giants are rolling out there, and Merrill Kelly is pretty underrated. I think he makes a lot of sense for tournaments. But in cash games, I'd probably stick with Valdez and Joe Ryan.
All right. Again, if you guys have any questions, put them in YouTube, put them in the MLB Crunch Time channel, in the RotoGrinders Discord for the premium members, and we will get to them. I think we've got most of the questions, and I see a couple people typing. Andre, I'm going to throw it to you from tournaments. We've got 5 minutes to lock. Anything cross your mind? Have you thought of something maybe a little different? People are coming to the show a little late. From a tournament perspective, what are your overall thoughts tonight?
I know Carson, you said earlier that St. Louis had a little bit more success against lefties this year, so I don't mind them in like a mini stack. I don't mind that in a mini stack in big like tournaments for like $50K up top where it's like a $15 on DK. I don't mind that.
I don't hate that either, but I probably won't do it, but there is some logic behind it.
All right. The RotoGrinders Discord has a couple extra questions. So from Michael Radish, this is an interesting one. Andre and I talked about this. On a FanDuel tournament, he's thinking between Cronenworth and Drury. We've got it like 27% Cronenworth, 20% Drury. I think that spread's going to be a little bit bigger, something like 30-15, where Cronenworth can possibly double up Drury in ownership tonight. From that perspective, he's thinking maybe you take Drury for a couple of reasons. Drury's been hitting better, Cronenworth not so much. I am totally cool with that, especially from a tournament perspective. Just that little swap, right, gives you a reasonably large ownership advantage.
I completely agree that I love that swap, but I probably and everyone's going to be on Jake Cronenworth for a good reason because he's a lefty going against Call, but Drury definitely I think has a lot of power to him, so I don't mind that.
All right, Jay wanted to know DraftKings single entry, Machado and Moore or Nate Eaton and Bobby Witt. I mean, that first one of Machado and Moore looks pretty juicy. If I'm correct, everybody. I know it's a single entry, but what's Moore's ownership going to be on DraftKings?
Like 10, 8 to 10
I think,
probably.
Yeah, that's fine. Even with Machado, I'm totally cool playing that in a launcher, no question. Achilles wants to know DraftKings cash again, a 3 for 3. He's trying to wiggle this down here. So Sanchez, McMahon, and Profar. I know Cards doesn't like that because it's got McMahon on DraftKings, or Smith, Machado, and Kellenic. So we're back to this, Cards. Which one is your preferred option?
Yeah, so like McMahon is $5,400. I just can't. I can't play McMahon on DraftKings.
And which Smith?
Like you can play that same lineup and just put Bregman in there, I guess. But
I play the second one for sure.
Yeah,
Smith,
I suppose Smith, Machado, Kellenic is fine. I'm overthinking that a little bit.
Yeah, the Smith, Machado, Kellenic will certainly pass the test for a cash game if you're looking at that. Let's see, YouTube top running back Sunday. I don't know. Is David Montgomery? That's for another. There's 8,000 YouTube shows. There's a bunch more tomorrow. Go check some of those. Check out the projections, all that stuff on RotoGrinders. You'll be able to find some running back thoughts. Just going back here. Jay's got another question. Casali or Torrens? And then he also asked, does it matter? Which is also interesting.
I don't have a coin down here. I'd flip one for you.
No, I don't. Nothing I can flip without having an expensive bill in front of me here. So what do you got, Andre?
Probably Casali.
I will take the Rock. It doesn't matter. I don't know if I can pull the voice off and don't want to make a fool of myself, so I won't try that. But I agree with option number 3 there, Jay. I don't know if it really matters if you're kind of choosing between any of those guys. Reigns from YouTube. We got a couple minutes left. DraftKings cash. He's looking at Torkelson and Javi Baez or France and Tovar for DraftKings cash. I think both are pretty reasonable. I do have a favorite. Justin, which side is yours?
Yeah, that's the second one for me. I don't want to play Torkelson in cash.
Yeah, I would play the second one as well. Don't hate it if you play Torkelson and Baez, but I also agree with Cards that the second one is the way to go. Looks like the questions have sort of run out here. We'll spend a couple minutes for bets on Sunday football. What do we? I don't know. I would take me 2 hours to sort of run through all the bets I have in for football. But as far as Justin, you're a Ravens fan, right?
Say that again.
You're the Ravens fan here, correct?
Yeah, they had a nice collapse.
What is this line
weekend.
at 2.5 for?
Why is it 2.5?
Yeah.
You think that's too high or what?
I think they should be like 4, 5, 6 point favorites or something in this one.
They gave up 8,000 yards passing to Tua last week.
Tua, this is the Patriots. I mean, it's Tua with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and you're going to try to compare them to the Patriots here?
Britt, they were ahead by 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter with 12 minutes to go, and they lost.
I don't think that this is like one of my favorite bets of the week. I know.
I cannot objectively talk about them after last week. I couldn't believe it. I want to know if any team in NFL history has ever blown a 3-touchdown lead in the fourth quarter and then retaken the lead and then still lost in regulation, because that's what they did. They gave up 3 touchdowns to tie the game. Then they kicked a field goal, and then they gave up another touchdown to lose the game, all in the final 12 minutes. And I'm sitting there thinking, thankfully, I love to emotional hedge. So when the Dolphins got it down to 1 touchdown, I bet the Dolphins money line at plus 900.
Oh,
and so I ended up making like $1,200 off of the
Was that on
Ravens
Scores and
collapsing.
Odds? Did you push an alert to Scores and Odds?
No,
for
I
that
didn't.
one?
I didn't. It was just an emotional hedge. So, and then I didn't know how to feel because I won $1,200, but my team lost. So I felt a little okay about it. But anyway, yes, in theory they should win. But boy, that was disappointing last week.
Yeah, so Justin still holds his teams, like the fandom. I've lived in upstate New York, so we have like the Syracuse.
You got
college
Q's,
team.
yeah, there you go.
But there's like I've never been a Bills fan. I used to be a Steelers fan. I've lost basically all fandom to teams or anything because fantasy and sports betting has sort of taken over my life. Andre, do you have teams you root for, or are you Justin and able to hold your teams in check, or nothing? None of that matters to me anymore. I'm just betting and playing fantasy now.
I am a huge sports fan. So like I'm probably like one of the biggest sports fans probably out there. Like I have like this. I'm a Saints fan. I'm a New York Yankees fan. I'm a Pittsburgh Penguins fan. And like at least the three major sports. We're going to get to that mainly.
You hold it and follow them regardless, even when you're doing all this.
Yes, I do. Like I try to stick with it as much as I can, but I like baseball is just too long of a season. I try to make sure I stay close to it until like about like August, September. Then I'm like, all right, I'm really in it now. Football, I follow it all year round, even the off season. Basketball, Miami Heat fan, so I'm there all year round, following and paying attention, trying to see what's going on and what's happening. So yeah, I stick to it and try to make sure I see what my teams are doing and hold them accountable for what they're doing. Like I would have been upset. Like my fiance is a Ravens fan as well, so she felt that pain. I know.
Chat, let me know either in Discord or in the YouTube. I know the locks happen, but what do you guys fall into? If you can be a diehard sports fan, but I guess with the rise of sports betting for me and prop betting and all that stuff that I have access to here in New York, maybe it's a little different if you don't have the sports books and all that. I've sort of lost my team fandom, even for Syracuse here locally. I know the college team's doing great this year, but I can't go to games. I guess a new baby. It's just when am I going to have time to follow things like that now? Let me know what you guys are. Are you more of Andre and Justin and you hold it while you're playing fantasy and sports betting, or do you just throw it all aside? And I just care about how many fantasy points is Jalen Hurts going to score this week. That's what I care about when the week comes to an end. Other than that, you've got in YouTube, you got another STL Cards fan, Justin. So you've got someone to vent to when they collapse.
Somebody was spamming. I tweeted this last night. Somebody was spamming in the YouTube chat. The Cardinals will lose to the Phillies in the wild card round, and they posted it like 40 times. And I screen grabbed.
Did you report that?
And put it on Twitter so that the karma gods don't forget if we end up playing the Phillies.
You could have just gone on YouTube and banned that person. You know that, right?
I think Steve handled that afterwards, but I got the screen grabs first.
Steve also wants the Pats money line. He said, I don't know if you saw that pop up on the screen, Justin. But producer Steve wants the Pats money line this week.
Oh, I'm sure Mac Jones will probably throw for 6 touchdowns.
All right. We're going to get out of here, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for giving us some of your takes on your fandom in relates to DFS and sports betting. Have fun. There's a bunch of NFL shows tomorrow morning. There's no baseball show as we focus on football. But if you're playing anything, if you're a premium member, there was I think the ownership show and the Blitz show for all of the premium members. Go check that out. Get yourself ready for Sunday. Lots of money to be won. We're going to get on out of here. For Andre and Justin, I'm Britt. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we out you.